isn't yet another example of what not to do. How is this not another example of Moshe getting it wrong again? Do you see what I'm saying? We see Abraham do this. Every single time he gets it wrong. Every single time.
I think I do understand what Monica's saying. I guess, but it brings me back to kind of where I was before. That's someone who's examining this text from the background of someone who's really versed in the ways of academia. And that's not, no, but that's not, I don't mean that as a criticism, and often, what I mean is that, no, but, okay, let me rephrase that. That is just, I give
you were right, you had it right the first time.
I give too much credit to academia by saying that is a very...
No, I think my language is influenced by academia, but I believe the ideas, the ideals are in here. I mean, I started thinking this way and doing this when I was barely an undergrad and didn't know what I was doing. I found Midrash. I found, all sorts of things.
But if you're in a community that attempts to live by this scripture, you cannot base a community on that level of meta, that level of...
You can only create a community, you can only run a family with binary thinking.
Right.
And we do not do this in this house.
Right, exactly.
Right.
It's rule book versus text versus
Right. No, this is a problem. You're right. It is a problem when it comes to how do you raise a family, how do you create and raise and maintain a family.
Right.
Because, you can't, there's this level of, there's no such thing as either or. It's all very gray. I mean, I don't know how I'm going to communicate this to my children, quite frankly. I agonize over this.
Right.
So it's a good point, but I just still think the essence of Judaism is not either or thinking. I mean, I come from an evangelical Christian tradition where it is, and I felt the differences profoundly when I found Judaism.
I believe.
What is the essence of Judaism then? If it's not either or?
Well, if you don't believe in binaries, you can't believe in
Love your neighbor.
Well, if you don't believe in binaries, you can't really believe in essences either, I don't think.
Oh, God.
There's no either or, but there's love your neighbor.
That's it. Love your neighbor.
Well,
all of Torah, love your neighbor. I'm not the only one. Hello, Shammai.
All right. Well, look.
Do you think that's the essence of Torah, Joey? Come on.
No, I do not. I agree with some of the things Monica is saying. I do feel like I feel like I got a lot of that from my Jewish upbringing. I do not see that in any of the Jewish communities or Jewish scriptures that I look at. I'm kind of left with, well, how did it produce this impulse to genuine discourse when there's all these binary communities and binary scriptures? But okay, and the scriptures don't have to be binary, but they're interpreted that way. Let me say one other thing. As far as the following your bliss versus following your duty. There is, I think, a vast chasm between following your bliss and following an externally imposed duty, which is the Rebbe who
there's
tells
a vast difference.
Right. But there is also an internally imposed duty, a sense of responsibility to pursue a specific program that you have defined as being your calling, and then that's where they
And
go.
how easy is it to fool yourself and say, I'm really following my duty when all you're doing is following what you want to do?
Oh, incredibly easy. That's why I say it's hard to think for yourself.
That's why you can't create a community based on people following less.
Right. Well, I think communities are kind of ass generally, but and that's why. I mean, but you can just do it for yourself. I mean.
Let me ask Monica one more question. Like it says in the Torah, don't mix linen and wool. Now you can go through all the Midrash, all the rabbinic commentaries, all the rabbis for 3,000 years, and you'll never find anything that says that's okay. So that seems like really binary thinking to me. And even with all the Midrash in the world.
We haven't gotten there yet.
So you think that would be like an evolving advance to start saying maybe that's okay?
Is Midrash not still being generated?
Do you think Midrash is still being generated? So like when
in a way,
Anita Diamond writes the Red Tent, you think that's Midrash?
No, I think it's Midrashic. It's
do you
not
think
Midrash
is still
with a
being
clap.
generated?
I think Midrashic ideas and Midrashic texts that are important and valuable and necessary to understand Torah in today's world I think that's what's happening. It's not the same thing, but it's a similar idea. Is that?
I think, if I can be presumptuous, I mean, I think that I totally what you said about what you got from Judaism. Not only do I have no reason to doubt you, I have reason to believe you, because as I said, I feel like I understand that. I think personally that it's a mistake to assume that what you got, that what we got from it, is the true essence of it, and that, is the essence of it. I think that there are infinite interpretations, and everyone in the problem and communities develop their own interpretations, and that becomes the truth for them. And Judaism has been dominated by people who thought debate's fine, but our interpretation is.
But not every interpretation is okay. I mean, I'm not going to say my interpretation is the only. I think it's a big part of Judaism. That's what I've gotten. That's what I see. That's my argument. But I'm aware that there are other ways to look at it.
There are, and those ones are the. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know if you mentioned already in your blog your recent experience.
You can talk about it. Just at the end of the show.
Okay, so people are excommunicated. Luke was not excommunicated. Luke is no longer welcome at his shul. There are the dominant interpretations are binary. When they try to create communities around this book, they come up with very hard binaries, and there are. That's where the human consequences are, because people who rely on those communities for anything are subject to the kind of the violent certainty with which some jackass has decided this is the only way to look at it, and that causes. There's a lot of suffering in that. That's why I say I don't like communities, because the idea of identifying yourself as part of a particular community, then you're dependent upon all those people around you to not do things and advance ideas that you think are bullshit. And you can't control anyone else. You can't control other people's. Other people aren't like you. So.
Wait, you said some interpretations are not okay.
Well, you can't just interpret it however you want.
Really?
No.
Why not? Where do you draw the line?
I don't know where that line is, and I hesitate to even say draw a line. I think there is a point at which an interpretation can become transgressive, and I think there's a point at which, let's just say, it becomes questionable and it needs to be discussed.
Right.
I can't.
Well, you don't have transgression without a community that can be transgressed. I mean, if you're a fully self-identified individual, then who are you going to? What's there to transgress, other than other people's shit? What I'm saying is that there's no transgression is not intrinsic to any idea. Transgression is contingent upon the existence of a community that tells you what you can't do, right?
I think you're right, but I'm trying to think of a way in which you're not right.
Right. Well, that's a cool way to approach things, actually.
No, I think you're right, but I'm having a feeling that. No, I think by transgressive, when I use that word, I usually mean it's transgressive because it's hurting somebody else. And it's not love your neighbor. When it's, and I think it's only, it's only transgressive when it hurts somebody else. But often these things do. Okay, here's a question. Well, here's a mini story. I once dated somebody who kept kosher, was very strictly kosher. Well, I brought Sprinkles cupcakes to his house, and he freaked out. And I was mortified. Okay, I was shamed. I felt terrible. So, is that a point at which his observance, his interpretation, became transgressive because he made me feel like a big jerk because I had brought cupcakes? Leave them on the porch.
Wait, you're the one who was transgressing his.
But I didn't know. I didn't know. I was very. I've always been very conscious. I try to be very respectful, but if it's not something that I do, I don't always know all of the nuances.
Right. Well, you can never. Right.
Right. And so I thought.
No, I mean I think he's a coward.
Hey.
Well,
I think why? What? You hurt him? Why? Okay, you're right. Transgression is when you hurt someone. Luke, hurt the poor members of a particular shul